Take a moment to imagine that you've just dumped a puzzle all over the table. At first, it's going to look like a mess. The pieces are going to be everywhere. There's going to be no concept of what the big picture is supposed to look like. The pieces are everywhere, and it's going to take some time to figure out how to put that puzzle back together. Crafting a speech is a lot like making a puzzle. The most effective speakers take time and energy to think of the organization, how all the pieces of the speech are going to be put together into a coherent whole. Think about it this way. Each puzzle piece is like a piece of information that you have that you could use in your speech. You have a lot of those pieces. You have personal experiences. You found statistics in your research. You found quotes. All of those different pieces of information need to come together into a coherent whole for your audience to be able to follow your speech. If you just blurt out all the information that you have, it's going to be very difficult for your audience to see the big picture. And that's a lot like just dumping all the pieces onto the table. But the more that we think about our organization, the more clear picture we're going to be able to craft for our audience. And then when we finish the puzzle for our audience, when we craft a clearly organized speech, it makes it easier for them to follow and engage with our position. It makes it easier for them to remember what we're talking about. And it also boosts our credibility a bit as it makes us look like we actually thought about our speech, prepared for our speech, and delivered an effective message that the audience could remember. And all of that matters in terms of persuading our audience. And so organization is one of the tools we have to persuade our audience. But how do we develop an organized speech? In this video, we're going to talk about a few tips I have for how you can holistically think about your speech and develop a compelling speech as a result. So the first thing that we need to do is start to organize all of our information that we have into major themes. When you are conducting your research, you should start to notice different themes, different things that different authors are talking about, and try to connect those themes across the research that you have. For example, if you wanted to deliver a speech about how to craft an effective YouTube channel, you'll likely find people talking about the technology that you might need in order to craft that channel. You'll probably find people talking about how to identify a niche for your channel. You'll probably find people that give you tips and advice about how to structure each video. You'll have people talk to you about what are the best ways to identify your audience and connect with your audience. So each one of those different things is a theme that you then could use as one of your main points in your speech about developing a YouTube channel. And when you do that, your speech goes from this to this. And so deciding the initial main points based off the themes that you see is the initial way that you can structure your speech and provide your speech with that skeleton that enables an effective organizational strategy. After you develop those main points, we're going to want to make choices about ones that we're going to actually include in our speech. Usually we can develop a lot of different points for our speech, but the most effective speakers are the ones that make the choice to include certain main points over others. Right? If we develop 10 main points, that is probably going to be too many main points for our speech, and so we need to narrow that down to 2 or 3 and maybe 4. And the way that you do that is by asking yourself, what is the most relevant to the audience? What is the most important things to understand on this topic? Where is the research at? What is the best research I have? If I have really good research to support one main point and not another, then I want to include the one that has the developed research in it. And then once you start developing those choices, you can move on to the next step, the third step, which is developing your topic web. So by developing a topic web, you can better visualize the organization of what your speech could look like. And I often do this either on a piece of paper or on a whiteboard if I have access to a whiteboard. But what you're just going to do is in the middle of that piece of paper or that whiteboard, put down your main topic. And so, for example, let's think of a speech that was going to be about identifying and addressing workplace bullying. In the middle of your whiteboard or your paper, you're going to have that label workplace bullying, and then you're going to start slowly developing kind of clusters, which are your main points. And so one main point from your research and your brainstorming might be that there's just a lot of signs and definitions of workplace bullying. So you want a main point developed to that. And so then you put that off to the side in one of your bubbles, and then you slowly start putting the other information that you want to talk about in relation to the definitions there. So we might have definitions of bullying as it relates to labor, as it relates to teasing, and you want to show the audience the different ways that bullying can manifest. And so you have that there. And then you slowly move to your other main points. Maybe you have a main point about the consequences of bullying and what bullying does to an organization, what it does to individuals, what it does in terms of turnover or lack of productivity. And maybe you have other research about the solution. And so you have that there in your topic web. And again, this topic web is just a way for us to start visualizing what the organization could look like and help us make sense of what the best organizational strategy might be for us. And so doing this allows us to move even closer to that picture of what we want to give to our audience. Now, the next tool that we have is our outline, and the outline is so important that we're going to devote an entire video just to that. So stay tuned to learn more about outlining and how it can help you deliver a more effective speech. Thanks again for watching. Have a good one.